Stop scrolling, because what you're about to see is exactly what most people are unknowingly throwing away every single day. Hidden in your pocket change right now could be silent fortunes, coins that look completely normal but are secretly worth life-changing money. And I'm warning you right now, do not spend these coins. Because collectors are aggressively hunting them, fighting over them, and paying real auction shock prices just to get them back. Nobody talks about this hidden wealth, but today that changes. We're breaking down the top 3 most valuable US wheat pennies ever found in circulation, and each one gets rarer, stranger, and more expensive as we go deeper. So check your pocket right now, because what you're holding might be the difference between loose change and a silent fortune. Stay with me till the end. The last coin is something most people don't even believe exists. Coin number 1. You're not ready for this first coin because it looks so normal that millions of people have already spent it without a second thought. But what if I told you one single 1,944 wheat penny could quietly sit in someone's collection today and be worth as much as a luxury home? And the wild part is, it didn't look special at all when it left the mint. It looked ordinary, almost forgettable. That's exactly why it becomes dangerous. Back in 1944, the United States was still deep in the pressure of World War II. The entire economy was shifting, resources were being redirected, and every single metal decision mattered. During this time, the US Mint was under intense production stress, trying to restore normal coinage after the famous 1943 steel cent experiment. Copper was coming back, but not everything returned perfectly. And that's where the mystery begins. The 1,944 wheat penny was supposed to be simple, a return to the classic bronze composition made of about 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. It weighed roughly 3.11 grams, had a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, and a thickness of about 1.52 millimeters. Standard, normal, forgettable. On the surface, nothing about it screams fortune. But here's where things get disturbing for collectors, because a tiny number of 1,944 pennies was struck under accidental conditions that turned them into absolute legends. Some rare pieces are believed to have been struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943, creating a ghost-like error that should not exist in theory. A 1,944 wheat penny that looks like it came from the wrong world. That kind of mistake turns ordinary change into auction chaos. Now imagine holding one of those in your hand. Cold metal, slightly grey tone instead of warm copper, almost eerie under light. The surface doesn't shine like normal pennies. It feels wrong in the most valuable way possible. That unnatural look is exactly what drives collectors insane. Even a standard 1,944 wheat penny in very fine condition already carries emotional value for collectors, especially ones with strong strike details from Philadelphia, the version with no mint mark. That small detail on the reverse side, right below 1 cent, becomes an obsession point. Because no mint mark means Philadelphia, the main mint, the origin point of millions of coins, but only a few survive with perfect detail and untouched surfaces. And here's what most people never realize. Condition is everything. The difference between a common penny and a life-changing one is not just the year, it's the surface. If it has been cleaned, polished, or scratched, collectors walk away instantly. Cleaning destroys decades of natural toning in seconds. And that toning is what proves authenticity, age, and survival. Now let's talk about why collectors emotionally chase this coin. It's not just metal, it's history trapped in your hand. A 1,944 wheat penny connects directly to wartime America, factories running non-stop, soldiers overseas, and a country rebuilding itself through every ounce of copper it could find. That emotional weight is why serious collectors don't just buy these coins. They fight for them. Auction rooms become silent war zones when rare variations appear. Bidding doesn't rise gently, it jumps. Fast, aggressive, competitive, because collectors know one truth. These coins are not being made anymore. Supply is frozen in history, and every year more disappear into private hands. And that's where the value shock hits. A rare 1,944 wheat penny in exceptional condition, especially unusual strike variations, has been known to reach figures as high as $358,200 in high-end collector markets. That's not pocket change, that's hidden wealth sitting in something most people would toss into a vending machine. So if you ever find a 1,944 wheat penny, stop everything. Do not spend it. Do not clean it. And don't assume it's ordinary just because it looks worn. Because this is exactly how silent fortunes get lost every single day. In gas stations, in drawers, in couch cushions. And what makes this even more intense is that this is only the beginning. Because the next coin is not just rare. It's something that collectors call a ghost strike. And once you see it, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. Next up, coin number 2. You think the first coin was intense, but this next one doesn't just look old. It looks like it survived something. Like it was pulled out of a forgotten place where time itself left marks on metal. And the crazy part? Most people would see it and think it's damaged, and spend it without a second thought. That's the exact mistake that creates silent millionaires. This is the 1,939 wheat penny, no mint mark, Philadelphia strike, and at first glance, nothing about it screams valuable. But when you really look closer, something feels off. The surface carries these gray-black layered tones across both sides, almost like the coin has been slowly swallowed by time itself. Not shiny, not bright, just darkened history pressed into copper. Now here's where things get dangerous for your wallet, because 1,939 wasn't just another year. It was a pressure point in American history. The country was crawling out of the Great Depression while watching war tensions rise across the world. Factories were shifting, people were saving every penny they had, and the US Mint was operating in a time where every coin had to carry stability into an uncertain future. That kind of era doesn't just produce currency, it produces survivors. And this penny is exactly that, a survivor. Under normal conditions, a 1,939 wheat penny was part of everyday circulation, made from the standard bronze composition, about 95% copper, with small traces of tin and zinc. It weighs around 3.11 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, and a thickness close to 1.52 millimeters. On paper, it sounds identical to millions of others. But in reality, the difference is in what time did to it. That gray-black layered surface you see on rare surviving examples isn't damage in the collector world, it's character. It's oxidation that built slowly over decades, forming natural toning that cannot be recreated artificially without losing authenticity. And collectors know this one truth: the moment you clean it, you destroy it. Forever. The front of this coin carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, stern, precise, unmoving. Above him reads, "In God we trust." On the left, liberty. On the right, the year 1939. But when that surface darkens into deep layered tones, Lincoln's face looks different, heavier, like history itself is pressing down on it. Flip it over, and you'll see the classic wheat reverse design. 2 wheat stalks, wrapping the words 1 cent and United States of America. Below it sits E pluribus unum, simple design. But in a coin like this, even simple designs start to feel powerful. Because the contrast between design clarity and age darkness is what collectors obsess over. Now let's talk about why this specific coin starts to climb in value far beyond what people expect. A 1,939 wheat penny in extra fine condition with strong detail and natural dark toning becomes something collectors don't just own, they chase it. Because survival is the real rarity here. Think about it. This coin has already lived through over 80 years of hands, pockets, machines, storage boxes, and forgotten drawers. Most of them didn't survive this clean. Most were lost, damaged, or spent without a second thought. But the few that remain, with strong detail, original surfaces, and that dramatic grey-black toning, those become highly desired pieces in private collections. Collectors look at tiny details most people would never notice. The sharpness of Lincoln's jawline, the clarity of wheat lines on the reverse, the smoothness of the rim without heavy damage. Even the smallest softness in strike can change perception. And perception controls money in this market. And this is where auction behavior gets intense. When a well-preserved 1,939 wheat penny appears with strong eye appeal, bidding doesn't move slowly. It tightens. It becomes quiet, controlled, then suddenly aggressive, because serious collectors don't want to miss it. They already know there won't be another identical piece showing up next week, or even next year. Supply is shrinking every single day, not because people are destroying them on purpose, but because they're unknowingly spending them. That's the hidden tragedy in this entire coin world. Something this old, this historically charged, is still sitting in circulation pockets right now. And that's how a simple penny reaches shocking value territory. In today's collector market, a 1,939 wheat penny in this kind of extra fine condition with strong toning and preserved detail can reach around $14,500 USD. Not because of errors, not because of minting mistakes, but because survival, condition, and demand all collide at the same point. That's what most people don't understand. Value doesn't always come from rarity mistakes. Sometimes it comes from time surviving perfectly in metal form. But here's the warning you cannot ignore. Do not clean this coin if you ever find it. Not even lightly. Not even just to see shine. Cleaning removes the natural surface layer that collectors use to verify authenticity and age. Once that layer is gone, the value collapses instantly. What could have been thousands becomes almost nothing in collector terms. And if you think holding it longer doesn't matter, it does. Because patience is part of profit in this world. The longer a coin stays preserved, untouched, and properly stored, the more serious collectors take it. So if a 1,939 wheat penny ever shows up in your hand, looking dark, aged, and almost forgotten, don't rush it away. That ugly surface might actually be the signature of hidden wealth sitting in plain sight. And just when you think this story can't get more intense, the next coin is something completely different. It's not just old, it's the kind of penny that collectors argue over in silence. Because once it appears, nobody wants to let it go. Next up, coin number 3. You're about to see something that feels completely harmless, almost too modern to matter. A 1,958 wheat penny. Demint mark. Nothing dramatic at first glance. Most people would literally glance at it, toss it in a jar, or spend it without thinking twice. And that's exactly where the danger is. Because this coin doesn't look valuable until you notice the edges. That black antique shadow forming around both sides, like time slowly burned itself into the metal. Not damage, not dirt, but aged character that collectors instantly recognize as something special. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now here's what makes 1958 quietly important in US coin history. By 1958, America was changing fast. The post-war boom was at full speed. Industry was exploding, cities were expanding, and everyday money was being produced in massive quantities. But here's the twist. The wheat penny era was coming to an end. 1958 was the final full year of the wheat cent design before the Lincoln Memorial reverse replaced it in 1959. That means every 1958 wheat penny is part of the final chapter of a coin design that lasted almost half a century. And that alone creates emotional pressure for collectors. Because once something becomes the last of its kind, demand changes completely. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, marked by that small D under the date on the obverse side. The front still shows Abraham Lincoln's portrait, calm, sharp, timeless. You'll see "In God We Trust" above his head, liberty on the left, and the year 1958 on the right, with the D mint mark sitting quietly below it. Flip it over, and you get the classic wheat reverse. 2 wheat stalks framing 1 cent in bold letters with United States of America and E pluribus unum layered beneath. Simple design, but in this final year wheat penny, simplicity becomes history. Now let's talk about what it's made of. Like most wheat cents of its era, it contains about 95% copper, 5% zinc, and tin. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, and a thickness around 1.52 millimeters. Nothing unusual on paper, but the surface tells a different story. Because when copper ages naturally over decades, it doesn't just fade, it transforms. That blackened edge toning you see is the result of slow oxidation, environmental exposure, air, handling, storage conditions, all layering over time like fingerprints from history itself. Collectors call this kind of look antique edge toning, and when it appears naturally and evenly, it becomes highly desirable. Not because it's perfect, but because it proves survival without artificial cleaning. And here's the most important warning. If this coin ever gets cleaned, even lightly polished, that antique edge character disappears instantly. And once it's gone, the coin loses the very thing that gives it personality in the collector market. Now let's talk about rarity, but not in the way people usually think. The 1958D wheat penny is not rare because of low mintage alone. It's rare in high-grade surviving condition. Most of these coins entered heavy circulation during a booming economic era. They were used, exchanged, scratched, and forgotten. Finding one today in extra-fine condition with strong detail and attractive natural toning is significantly harder than people assume. Collectors don't just look at the date. They look at strike quality, surface preservation, and eye appeal. And that black antique rim actually increases visual contrast, making Lincoln's portrait stand out more sharply than typical worn examples. That's why demand quietly builds around coins like this. At auction level, these coins don't always make loud headlines, but they create quiet competition. Serious collectors don't want to miss high-grade final-year wheat cents because they represent the end of an entire design era. And when demand rises while supply keeps shrinking year after year, prices follow. In today's collector market, a 1958D wheat penny in strong, extra-fine condition with attractive natural toning can reach around $3,100 USD. Not because of errors, not because of mint mistakes, but because condition, historical timing, and collector demand all align in one place. And here's what most people miss. Coins like this are still slipping through hands every single day. Someone sees 1 cent and moves on. Someone else spends it at a store. And just like that, a collectible quietly disappears from circulation forever. That's why this coin isn't just metal, it's timing, it's history, it's awareness. So if you ever come across a 1958 wheat penny with a D mint mark and that deep aged edge tone, stop for a second. Don't rush it. Don't clean it. Don't assume it's ordinary just because it looks common. Because this is exactly how hidden value gets lost in plain sight. And now, the final coin is coming. But this one isn't just the end of a series. It's the kind of penny that collectors describe as almost too perfect to still exist in circulation.